that didn't happen. Hail to thee, my kindred. I hope you're all having a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, and night, wherever and whenever you are. One of my fingers feels like I've somehow injured the front of it in the inside. Like, it feels like I've... You know when you sometimes incidentally pinch a finger? You know, you pinch it because you're trying to mess with something or put something together, and then it's like, bam, all of a sudden, boom, pinched finger. I think I did that to my... Which one was it? My middle finger? And now it's kind of permanently... Feels like I've had a small cut on the inside for quite some time. It just feels odd if there's any pressure applied to it. Not painful, just odd. Unnatural, so to speak. But it is what it is. Also, I've had very little sleep over the last 2 days, so there is that. Glorious, 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 glorious. You love to see it happen. You love to see it happen. At least I got some coffee, and it is a couple of degrees higher in temperature than the usual, so there is that wonderful reality, because I'm tired of freezing my ass off every time I try to sleep, even though I didn't sleep too well this night either. It's better to lack sleep while not cold than lack sleep because you're cold, alright? That's all I'm saying, that's all I'm saying. Ugh. Something tells me there will be at least one more treacherous cold month or week or whatever before winter decides to fade away for real. And I cannot wait for spring to begin. Because one, that means that I get to see random little creatures whenever I go outside. And I like seeing the random little creatures. Sometimes they're rabbits. Most of the time they're like the little wild rabbits that go around here. Other times they're birds, you know? And now that I think about it, I only ever see... What they call them? Blue jays, I think? I'm not sure if that's what they actually are, but the fucking Mordecai birds. Mordecai, that's the only reference. That's the only... If it's not a blue jay, then I don't know the name and I'm just referring to it as a Mordecai bird. But it's those, the blue ones. I only ever see them around spring, and then that's it. I don't ever see them at any other time. It could just be that they're passing by and taking, I suppose, this area to go in between places, so to speak. Because I don't really see them around the summer as often, even though in theory they should be also around in the summer. I don't know. Anyhow, last time we had stopped on chapter 12 here, or book 12, as the story likes to call it. And from what I remember last time around, which is not a lot, is that I believe a couple of fellows went back to try and convince Achilles to finally join battle, and that didn't go well. And then more battle happened. People got injured. I think 2 people then went to Patroclus, and they're talking to him and trying to convince him to wear Achilles' armor, so the thing is close to happening. And if you don't know what the thing is, it's kind of kind of a big deal for Achilles, the thing that may happen. Let me see, where is it that they say it? They say it somewhere around here. I had to quickly read through this just to make sure I was in the right book. But one of them suggested that he wear Achilles' armor and whatnot. So we're gonna see what happens now. We're gonna see how exactly this goes down. After all the fair, the fair bitching and complaining over Achilles not being in battle. Book 12, The Rampart Breached. Okay, so great start, Love it when the book just tells you, yeah, they got fucked up a little bit more. And after this fashion in his own hut, Menoetius' gallant son, tended Eurypylus' attended Eurypylus. We're gonna struggle again with like the million different names. The wounded man, while Argives fought the Trojans' mass attack, their moat no longer could contain, nor could the rampart they had built to save the ships carry the moat around it. To the gods they gave no hecatombs that might have won them to guard the wall as shield for the deep-sea craft and plunder that it ringed. The immortal gods had never willed it, and its time was brief. While Hector lived and while Achilles raged, and while Lord Priam's town lived on, unsacked, so long the Achaeans' rampart stood. But after the flower of Troy went down, with many Argives fallen or bereft, when Priam's Troy was plundered in the 10th year, and the Argives shipped again for their dear homeland, then Poseidon and Apollo joined to work erosion of the wall by fury of rivers born in flood against it. All that flow seaward from Ida. Rhesos, Heptaporos, Charisos, Rhodios, Grinicos, Aesipos, Scamanders, Ancient Stream, and Simois, we'll go with Simois, around which so many shields and crested helms had crashed in dust with men who were half-gods. These rivers were diverted at their mouths and bent into one river by Apollo. Damn. They just unironically just wrangling a bunch of different rivers. who sent that flood 9 days against the rampart. The Apollo is mad. And so is actually, didn't Poseidon get told by Zeus to like not intervene? I'm pretty sure like way back Zeus told Poseidon to stop bitching because I think Poseidon was complaining about how when they built the rampart, they didn't give him like hecatombs and whatnot. And Zeus was like, bro, just shut up. Turns out he did not let that slide. He just helped Apollo freaking flood the damn thing against the rampart like 9 times. More so 9 days. Zeus let his rain fall without pause to bring the wall more quickly under inshore water. As for the gods who shake the islands, he in person, with his trident in his hand, led on the assault. Foundation logs and stones the Achaeans toiled to lay, he shunted seaward, leveling all by the blue running sea. In sand again he hit the long shore, when he had washed the wall down, and he turned the rivers to their old fair watercourses. Thus, before long, Poseidon and Apollo settled this earthwork. Now, though on both sides, tumult and combat raged around the wall, whose tower beams rang from battling. What are tower beams? Do they mean like the structural support? I don't know. The Argives under Zeus's lash were beaten back upon the longships, all in the fear of Hector, master of rout that day. Aye, as before, furious as a high wind when it strikes, he wheeled and fought, boar-like, or like a lion that rounds in mighty joy on dogs and men. The hunters close ranks in a wall and face him to make a broadside volley of javelins, but his high heart will neither quail nor flee. His own courage kills him. Everywhere he turns to test the ranks, and he charges, all give way. So forward into the melee, Hector charged and turned and called his men to cross the moat. But his own chariot team dared not, but on the very brink arrested, whined and reared away in panic. And seeing the ditch could not be taken in a leap or passed through easily, on either side banks overhung it with stakes pointing inward, sharp and long and close together, set by the Achaeans as a ground defense against their dire attackers. Good. The little spikes are saving them. I say little, but usually these things are pretty big. Sometimes they're even just made with like small logs of wood, just big ol' spikes. No beast drawing a nimble car could easily descend there, and men on foot, though thought hard if they could pass. At this, Polydamas at Hector's elbow said, Hector, and the rest of you, our captains of auxiliaries, we are fools to drive our teams into the moat. So rough it is to get across, the stakes inside like fangs against us. And then comes the wall. There is no chance at all with the chariots to get down into place and fight. No room. Impaled here, impaled there. I can see us now. And if Zeus in thunder will make havoc of Achaeans, if he is hot in the Trojans' cause, by heaven, I wish this fight were over soon. The Achaeans wiped out, distant far from Argos, winning no glory. If they once reform braced on the ships and counterattack, while we are trapped here in the ditch, then I foresee not even a messenger will reach the town. No one escapes the Achaeans once they rally. Well then, everyone do as I propose. Charioteers pull at the moat's edge, while we ourselves in harness and on foot follow Hector in close rank. The Achaeans cannot hold, if now their ultimate destruction is at hand. Polydamas counsel to avoid the risk, one Hector over, and he vaulted down with weapons from his chariot. So they're finally kind of playing it smart instead of just playing it by by the need to slaughter, honestly, because that's what they've been doing so far, as I remember. Other Trojans stayed no longer huddled behind their teams, but seeing that Hector has dismounted, each commanded his charioteer to keep in line outside the ditch, with a tight rein on his horse, while fighting men moved out ahead. They formed 5 companies under leaders, each in column. Those who deployed with Hector and Polydamas were bravest and most numerous, grimly bent on carrying battle to the longships when they had breached the wall. Cebriones joined them, third in command, and in his place as driver Hector left a weaker man. Damn. Paris headed the second company, whose officers were Alcatos and Agenor. A third was under Helenos and Deiphobos, 2 of Priam's sons. Priam has a bunch of kids, don't he? God damn. How many kids does Priam have? Because there's obviously like the main 2, right? Like Hector and Paris, but like every now and again it's like these 2 other guys who are also Priam's sons. It's like, bro, how many kids does Priam have? And Aisios, Hyrtacides, whose great roan horses brought him from Erysippe and the Sales River. Over the 4th, Aeneas held command. Anchises' powerful son, whom Lord Antenor's 2 sons joined, Archilochus and Acamas, trained in every fighting skill. Sarpedon held command of the allies. He chose 4 officers, Glaucus and Asteropios. Far and away the best men, he thought, of the auxiliaries, after himself, who stood high in the whole army. That's good for them. At least they didn't get called a weaker man like that throwaway driver. Bulls' hide shields began being dressed in line. They rushed at the Denons, certain that these could not resist the charge that swept now in the black ships. And all Trojans, all allies, obeyed the battle plan of cool Polydamas. I think cool in this context is supposed to mean like level-headed. All except Asios, Hyrtacides. He did not care to leave his team and driver, but still mounted, rode to attack the Achaean ships. The idiot, he would not give his own hard fate the slip or ride in glory from the beachhead back to win the alien in his war car. Miserable death would shroud him by the spear of Idomeneus, Deucalion's noble son. Asius drove to the left around the ships, to the place where the Achaeans were withdrawing chariots and horses from the plain, where he swerved from the wall and found the gates of planking with great bolts as yet unshut. Men held them open to admit and save stray fugitives from battle. Straight ahead he drove his team, while after him his men ran yelling, for they thought the Achaeans could not hold, but had to fall back on the ships. All a delusion. At the entranceway they met 2 Lapith spearmen, champions, Polypiotes, the son of Perithous, and Leontius, though thought as the war god. How many mother truckers are thought to be as a war god? That's gotta piss off a certain someone. These outside the tall gates held their grounds like oaks that tower on high hills, enduring wind and rain through all their days, with roots deep down, tenacious of the earth. Like oaks indeed, the two stood fast and trusted their right arms, their fighting power, against great Asios. On came the Trojans toward the wall with shields uplifted, with a long-drawn battle cry around Lord Asios, Imenos, Orestes, Adamas, Acides, Thone, what? Okay, Thone, and Oinomeos. Until just now, the Lapith, the defenders, had been inside the wall, issuing orders to Achaean troops to form around the ships. But when they saw the Trojans charge, when a cry came from the Danaans in retreat, they bounded through the gateway to give battle. Think of two savage boars in a mountain place, waiting, a loud rumble, a rabble of dogs and men. They swing their heads from side to side and rip through underbrush, snapping the twigs offshore with a sharp noise of gnashing tusks until some hunter makes the kill. Just so the bright bronze breastplates clanged as the two took their blows. Prodigiously they fought, putting their trust in their own power and in the marksmen on the wall above. In fact, now from high places in defense of camps and ships and their own lives, the men were pitching stones, and the stones showered the earth like snow driven by the storm wind thick and fast in the murky veil swept over pasture land. So missiles came in torrents from Achaeans' hands as well as Trojans. Helmets rang and bossed shields rang with hits. Now they're just tossing rocks at one another. I love it when the fight just boils down to dudes tossing rocks. To be fair, this is still very early in this is still theoretically, if this battle did happen, Bronze Age, so, getting a rock to the head, even with the helmet, probably really fucking hurts. But Asios Hirtakides, I'm just gonna call him Asios whenever they put his whole name, but Asios pummeled his thighs and groaned and bit his lip and said, "Oh, Father Zeus, even you turn out to be a liar. I thought destiny was against the Achaeans holding before our drive and our spear arms unleashed. Now see the agile, wasted hornets or bees who built their hives on a stony. Why did I read it as ivory? On a stony road, hornets that will not leave their homes but wait for hunters and in fury defend their young. These two men only, at the gate will not give way. For them, kill or be killed." But Asios' complaints left Zeus unmoved. It pleased him to award the day to Hector. So basically Asios can't break through because Zeus wants to give the win to Hector. That's so fucked up. Even though they're both on the same side, it's like Zeus is just like, nah. I don't care. These two guys, yeah, they're gonna hold. They're gonna hold until Hector shows up or something. Now there was fighting at the various gates, a difficult thing for me to tell it all in as though I were a god. Around the rampart at every point, blaze upon blaze of war leapt upward. Out of a savage need, the Argives fought on bitterly to save the ships, and all the gods who took their part were grieved. Still, the two Lapiths dealt terrific blows. Polypoetes, Peirithous' son, hit Damasos, helm hard on a sheet plate. Bronze too frail to take the blow. Straight through into the skull the spearhead crunched its way, demolishing the brain. Down went the man. Then Polyopetes killed Pylon and Ormenius. War-bred Leontius killed Hipponicus with a spear thrust at the loin guard. Damn, right in the pelvis, basically, I think. Drew his sword and at close quarters leapt through the press, ran through Antiphates, who went down backwards. Next to Menon and Iamenos he lunged, and at Orestes, damn, that one guy is like going off, taking their lives away. Now while the Lapids made these kills and took the men's flashing armor, those who followed Polydamas and Hector, their young troops in number and valor greatest, sworn to breached the Achaeans' wall and set the ships afire, halted hesitant at the moat. I, two guys are managing to like hold the line, and not only that, they're managing to strip the armor off of some of these guys. What? They are built different for. Who are these two guys? Laputs, whatever that is supposed to mean. I guess that's like a place. I mean, they were told to be champions, you know? Like, they gotta be important somehow. Maybe they're just like two random ass dudes that are, you know, not of any noble lineage, but are just so happen to be very good at fighting. Just then, as they desired to cross, a bird flew by them, heading to the left across the army, an eagle beating upward, in its claw a huge snake, red as blood, alive and jerking, full of fight. It doubled on itself and struck the captor's chest and throat. At this, the eagle in its agony let go and veered away, screaming downward. The snake fell in the mass of troops, and Trojans shuddered to see the rippling thing lie in their midst. A portent from Lord Zeus, who bears the storm cloud. Polydamas, and at Hector's elbow, said, "Hector, you always manage to rebuke me when I talk well to assemblies. It won't do at all to cross you, peace or war in council, only to confirm you. Well, once more I intend to speak as I think best. Let us not carry the fighting to the ships. The end, I think, is what the bird portend, if a true portent. When we wished to cross, the eagle bearing left across the army, beating upward, grappling this great snake alive. She dropped it here, and she never gained her own nest with it, and it never had her will to give it to her nestlings. We too are grappling danger. Granted we break the gates and force a breach in the Achaean wall, granted they fall back, we shall never make it intact to the ships by the same paths. But many a Trojan must we leave behind, lacerated with bronze by the defenders. That is what you'd hear from a diviners learned in sign and headed by the troops. Heeded by the troops. Damn, why is my mouth already kind of dry? Hector in the bright helm frowned and said, "This time I have no liking for your counsel. You must have others and braver things to say. If this comes from the heart, why then the gods themselves have wrecked your wits. You try to tell me I should forget what Zeus of the long thunder planned and promised with his nod to me? You would have me put my faith in the birds whose spreading wings I neither track nor care for, whether to the right hand sunward they fly, or to the left hand westward into darkness. No, I say rely on the will of Zeus, who rules all mortals and immortals. One and only one portent is best. Defend our fatherland. And why should you turn pale at war and combat? Even if the rest of us are killed to a man beside the Argive ships, no fear that you will be. You lack ability for warfare, and you lack the nerve to face it. I tell you, though, that if you hold off now or make one soldier falter in this battle, you are a dead man on the spot with my own spear blade in you." Okay, relax. Hector is not feeling like being told to not charge and destroy the ships. We get it. So he finished, turning towards the good forward to go forward, as the others followed him with a blood-curdling cry, and from the slopes of Ida, Zeus, who plays in thunder, roused a gale against the ships, blowing a dust cloud to bewilder spent Achaeans, while to the Trojans and to Hector he made his gift of glory. Trustful now of Zeus's omens and their own right arms, they made trial of the wall to break it down. Layers of earth and stone they undermined, and the revetments of the fighting wall they tore away by prying loose the post the Achaeans strove to hold the earthwork in. They pulled these up, thinking when they were gone to breach the wall, but even now the Danaans would not yield free passage, yamming oxide bags of earth into the gaping dike. They cast stones from above on the attackers. Everywhere along the parapet, Aeneas and the others Acting marshals roamed and cheered the Achaeans on, at times with pleading and at other times with iron words of rebuke, if they caught sight of anyone hanging back from the fight. Friends, one would say, whether you are among the best or fair or poor fighters, all men cannot be equal in war. This challenge is for everyone. You see it for yourselves. Not one man may let himself be turned back on the ships by any baying enemies he hears. Keep your shots going forward. Cheer each other, so Zeus, who is Olympian lord of lightning, may let us throw them back upon the town. With words like these and urgent battle cries, both men cheered the Achaeans on. Imagine flakes of snow that come down thick and fast on a winter day when Zeus, who views the wide world, brings on a fall of snow, showing mankind his means of making war. He lulls the winds and sifts white flakes in stillness hour by hour until hilltop and foreland are all hid, as are the farmers' meadowlands and fields, while snow comes down over the Hauri Sea, on harbors and on shores. Though running surf repel it, all things else are muffled white, weighed down by the snow from heaven, the storm of Zeus. So thick and fast the stones flew. Here they fell on Trojans, there from Trojans on Achaeans, by all hands thrown and thudding along the wall. They're really trying to hold this damn wall. But even so, and even now, the Trojans, led by great Hector, could not yet be breached. The wall and gate were with massive bar. Had not Lord Zeus impelled Sarpedon, his own son, against the Argives like a lion on cattle. Circular was the shield he held before him, hammered out of pure bronze. Aye, the smith had hammered it and riveted the plates to thick bull's hide on golden rods, rigid out to the full circumference. Now, gripping this hefting a pair of spears, he joined the battle, formidable as some hill-bred lion, ravenous for meat after a long abstinence. His valor summons him to attempt homesteads and flocks, and though he find herdsmen on hand with dogs and spear to guard the sheep, he will not turn without a fling at the stockade. One thing or the other, a mighty leap and a fresh kill, or he will fall at the spearman's feet, brought down by a javelin thrown hard. So valor drove Sarpedon to the wall to make a breakthrough. Turning to Glaucus, Hippolochus' son, he said, "What is the point of being honored so, with precedence at table, choice of meat, and brimming cups, at home in Lycia, like gods at ease in everyone's regard? And why have lands been granted you and me on Xanthos' bank?" Oh, I thought somebody was knocking on my door. "To each his own demesne, with vines and fields of grain, so that we too at times like this in the Lycian front line may face the blaze of battle and fight well, that Lycian men at arms may say they are no common men, our lords who ruled in Lycia. They eat fat lamb at feast and drink rare vintages, but the main thing is their fighting power when they lead in combat. Ah, cousin, could we but survive this war to live forever deathless, without age, I would not ever go again to battle, nor would I send you there for honor's sake. But now 1,000 shapes of death surround us, and no man can escape them or be safe. Let us attack, whether they give some fellow glory or to win it from him." Glaucus listened and moved only to obey, and leading the great Lycian tribe, the two men charge. Now Menestheus shivered, seeing them come with menace for him against the wall. He glanced around him at the battlements of Achaeans, looking for some chief who might repel destruction from his men. Aias the tall and Aias the short he saw, avid for war, both standing there, and Teucros from his hut this moment came to join them. All were near, and yet he could not reach them without a shout. So loud the clangor that went up to heaven, clash of shields and helms that rang with blows and blows upon the gates. Now all were shut, besieged by Trojans trying to break them down. In haste that sent Thotis off to Aias, telling him, "Run to Aias, call him here, or call both rather. That is best by far." Since sure destruction is upon me here, the Lycian captains bring such weight to bear in battle as in the past. They are formidable. If our two on the wall there are hard pressed, get Aias Telamonius alone, and with him Teucros, who knows bowmanship. Basically, shoot that guy. Catch him alone and shoot that guy. When he heard him out, the messenger darted along the wall manned by Achaeans, to halt by those named Aias. He said at once, Aias and Aias, marshals of the Argives, the sons of Petios, reared under heaven, begs your presence for a time at least, to share the danger, both of you, if possible. That would be best by far, as sure destruction comes upon him there. But you can see the Lycian captains bring such weight to bear in battle as in the past. They are formidable. But if the fight is hot here too, then Aias Telamonius alone can go, and the good bowman Teucros with him. Teucros. Aias, son of Telamon, complied, first saying swiftly to the son of Oileus, Aias, you and Lycomedes hold your ground here, and keep shouting at Thetans to put their hearts into the fight. Meanwhile, I go lend a hand there in the battle, but I should soon be back, and when I give our men support. So off he went, and Teucros too, his brother, went along. Passing inside the wall, they found Menestius' tower, and those who manned it hard, beset, as now the Lycian chiefs like a thunder squall loomed at the rampart. And these two hurled themselves into the fight against the attacking line, and a great shout went up. Telamonian Aias made the first kill. Sarpedon's brave companion, Epicles, by having a jagged block the topmost of a pile that lay inside against one of the battlements. Not easily could any mortal now live holding it in both hands. Not easily could any mortal now alive hold it in both hands, even in his prime. But Aias raised it high and hurled it down, shattering helmet, skull, and brains at one blow. Down the Lycian dropped headlong from the wall's height like a diver, a worm life ebbed from his bones. Then Teucros shot Glaucus, powerful son of Hippolocus, with an arrow as he rushed the wall. A bow shot just where he saw his arm bared. Joy in battle left the young fighter. Off the wall he leapt, not to be seen and taunted by Achaeans. Glaucus' withdrawal made Sarpedon grieve the instant he perceived it. Still the battle gave him joy. He pierced Alcmaon, son of Testors, and threw the spear blade out. As doubling forward after the spear, the man fell hard, his brazen gear clanging. And then Sarpedon, grasping a battlement with massive hands, wrenched, and the parapet came toppling down, so men could mount by it to the stripped wall. Aias and Teucros met him now together. Teucros put a shaft in the bright belt on which his shield hung, but Zeus brushed away Death's shadow from his shield. His fate was not to die abaft the ships. Though Aias lunged and hit the shields, his point would not pass through. It only stopped Sarpedon. He fell back a little from the crumbled battlement, not in retreat though, but still craving honor, and whirled and called his godlike countrymen. Excuse me. Lycians, why are you lagging, slackening off your driving power? It is hard for me alone, strong as I am, to make a breakthrough clear a way to the ships. Come up alongside, more hands here will do a better job. Inwardly shrinking from their lord's rebuke, they bunched around him and attacked in force. The Argives, for their part, inside the wall, reinforced their companies. Both found it heavy work, for neither could the Lycians breach the wall and clear a way to the ships, nor could the Dadan spear dislodge the Lycians from the wall once they had breached it. Think of two men contending over boundary stones, each with his measuring rod. in the common field in a narrow place, disputing that what is fair. So here the parapet divided these, and for the parapet they tore each other's chests protecting, ox-hide apron shields. Many were gashed by the cold-hearted bronze, every man who left his back uncovered, turning, and some men who thought the shield itself, and everywhere towers and battlements were bespattered from both sides. But still the attacking Trojans could not rout the Achaeans. They held. Think of an honest cottage spinner balancing a weight in one pan of the scales and wool yarn in the other, trying to earn a pittance for her children. Evenly poised as that were these great powers making war, until the last Lord Zeus conferred on Hector, Priam's son, the glory of bursting through the Achaean wall. In a piercing voice he called, on, Trojans! Horse breakers, breach the Argive wall and pitch a hell of fire into the ships. The listening troops obeyed and surged in a great throng against the wall to clamber between towers, carrying spears. Now Hector picked a boulder that had stood, broad bottom, sharp on top, before the gate. The strongest pair of men in the whole realm, as men are now, could not with ease heave up this boulder from the ground into a wagon. Lightly Hector handled it alone, for Zeus, the son of crooked-minded Cronos, made it a trifling weight for him. A shepherd will carry easily, in either hand, a new shorn ram's fleece. No great weight for him, so Hector, lifting up the stone, went forward to the high double doors of heavy timber closing the gateway. 2 crossbars inside were rammed in place, and one pin fastened them. He took a stance before the doors and braced, with feet apart, for full force and blow. Then smashed down at the center. Hinges cracked on both sides as the great mass tumbled through. The doors groaned inward, bars gave way. The planks were splintered by the impact right and left, and through the breaching glory Hector leapt, his visage darkened as nightfall, though he shone terribly from the bronze that he was dressed in, carrying a brace of spears. No one could stop him, none but the gods, as he leapt through the gate, his eyes burning. Then he wheeled and called the mass of Trojans to come charging on across the wall, and they obeyed him, some by swarming over, others pouring through their very gateway. And the Danaans broke for their longships in an uproar, always rising. The Trojans have broken through. Book 13, Assault on the Ships. When Zeus had brought great Hector and his Trojans into the beachhead by the ships, he left them to cruel toil of battle and to grief, while he himself with shining eyes turned north, gazing on the far lands of Thracian horsemen, Mysois, hand-to-hand fighter, Hippimolkoi, who lived on mare's milk, nomads, Abioi, most peaceable and just of men, and Zeus now kept his shining eye away from Troy, confident that no other god would come to take a hand for Trojans or Danaans, but the strong god who makes the mainland shake had not been blind. Enthralled watching the battle, he sat on woody Samos' highest ridge, the highest ridge of Thrace, when Ida could be seen entire in Priam's town and the Achaean ships. He had climbed up from the salt sea, and now he pitied Achaeans beaten down by Trojans. Rancor within him deepest against Zeus. Then from the stony mountain down he went with mighty strides. A tremor shook the crags and forest under Poseidon's immortal feet. 3 giant steps, then 4, and he was home at Aigai, where his golden chambers glimmered in the green depth and never wash away. Here he entered into his chariot shafts that he backed his racing team with golden manes, but put on his golden mantle, took his whip of pliant gold, stepped up into his car, and rolled out on the waves. Great fish beneath him gamboled from every quarter of the deep. Aware their lord rode overhead, and laughter whitecaps parted, and the team tilt eerily, drew unwedded the axle tree. They're really just. This is a very long-winded way of saying, yeah, Poseidon pulled up. With a leap on leap, they bore him toward the beachhead. There is a cavern deep in the deep sea, midway between the rocky isle of Imbros and Tenedos, where here he who shakes the islands drove his horses down, unharnessed them, tossed them heavenly father, looped their hooks with the golden hobbles none could break or slip, that they should abide here their lord's return. And off he went to the Achaean army. I find it funny that, like, so many times the gods are described as basically getting in their car and just going to a place. You would think they would just appear. But it's like, nah, they're going for a leisurely ride so that they can see the Achaeans or the Trojans and do their thing. Now, like a storm or prairie fire, swarming steadily after Hector, son of Priam, the Trojans roared as one man. On the verge, they thought, of capturing the Achaean ships and dealing death to the best men around them. But now from the deep water, a girdler of earth and shaker of earth, Poseidon came to arouse new spirit in the Argives. Calchas he seemed with his unwavering voice, addressing first these two, fiery as he, the men named Aias. Aias and Aias fight to save the Achaean army. Joy of action is what you must remember, and have done with clammy dread. Elsewhere I do not fear the free spear of Trojans, though they crossed our big rampart in force, they can only be held, all of them, by Achaeans. Only here, in this one place, I am most afraid it will go badly for us. Here this madman Hector, like a conflagration leads them. Bragging he is a child of almighty Zeus. I wish you were inspired by some god to hold the line hard, clamped hard here, you two, rallying others. You could block and turn his whirlwind rush away from the longships, even if the Olympian sets him on. I like how he says, I wish you two were inspired by some god, as if he's not the one talking to them. The god who girdles earth, even as he spoke, struck both men with his staff, instilling fury, making them springy, light of foot and hand, then upward like a hawk's sword, a hawk that, wafted from the rock point, sheer and towering shoots to strike a bird over the plain. So arrowy in flight Poseidon left them. The sons of Alius knew his nature first and turned to say to the son of Telamon, that was one of the gods who hold Olympus, here in the seer's shape telling us to fight abaft the ships. It was not Calchas, not the leader of bird flight. From his stride, his legs as he went off, I knew him for a god. The gods are easily spotted. As for me, I feel more passion to do battle now. I tingle from the very soles of my feet to my fingertips. And Telamonian Aias answered, so it is with me. My hand itch to let the spear shaft fly. Power is rising in me. I can feel a springing freshness in my legs. I long to meet this implacable Hector face to face. Yo, it's gay boy. Why is that the way you decide to say hello? Have you no shame? Have you not an ounce of decorum, of any such attitudes? You can't just come in and say hello, how are you? It just gotta be like, yo, it's gay boy. What's the plan for tomorrow and Friday? Because you probably won't see these. You probably won't see those streams. Tomorrow it's in the thing, and you can go to the announcements over on the Discord, and the schedule is right there. Tomorrow I play Morrowind, and then Friday is Vampire the Masquerade. I knew you were gonna be mad. Yeah. Hey, you can still watch the VOD and look at me being a dumbass as I walk around and probably get lost a lot. So there is that. Worry not, worry not. You'll catch the next ones as well. Anyhow, how is your day? How has your day been? I hope it's been alright. For me, this week has just been... It's not a good start to be so sleepless. We'll see if I actually manage to get some rest tonight, though. It's been alright for you? That's good to hear, that's good to hear. We like that. We like when it's alright. Where was I? So they assured each other in that joy of battle which the god inspired, and he meanwhile put his heart in the Achaean soldiers rearward, taking a respite among the ships. Dead on their feet, from toil of war these men were losing heart. Now they could see the Trojans massing as they crossed the rampart. Watching in silence, the Achaeans' eyes grew wet. They saw no way to escape the evil hour. But he who makes the islands tremble, passing lightly among them, stiffened the backbone of all those rugged companies. Teucros first, and Latos he commanded as he came. Why did I say it like that? Then Peneleos and Toas, Deipyros and last Meriones and Antilochus, clarion in battle. Urgently and swiftly he cried to them, "Shame, Argives, shame, young men! By fighting you can save our ships, but if you shrink the battle, then we face defeat this day at the Trojans' hands. By heaven, what a thing to see! I never dreamed the war would come to this, our beachhead raided by Trojans. Until now these men were timorous as greenwood deer, light frame for jackals, leopards, wolves, wandering deer with no fight in them and no joy in battle. Trojans in the other days would never meet Achaeans' power on the attack, not they. Far from the city now, they press the combat to the very ships. By our commander's fault, and by our soldiers' fault in giving in. At odds with him, our men will not hold fast beyond the ships and but die around them. Call it proved and true beyond a doubt that Agamemnon, lord of the great plains, caused this by contempt shown to Achilles. Are we to break off battle then? How can we? Rather find a remedy. Good men's hearts respond to remedies. Last time they tried to remedy anything regarding Achilles, that shit did not work. You must no longer hang back, but attack for honor's sake, as every one of you is a first-rate soldier. Would I now quarrel with one who shunned the war if he were a man unfit for it? No, with you I am full of anger. Soldiers, you'll bring on worse things yet by your half-heartedness. Let each man get a fresh grip on his pride and look to his standing. The great contest begins. Hector begins his drive along the ships in force. He has broken the gate bar on the gate, which he somehow did with like one rock. One very impressive rock, mind you. Man, the way to describe him lifting that rock is still goofy to me. It's like, you know, when a shepherd cheers one of his rams and lifts the wool around or whatever. That's how Hector lifted that rock. It's like, okay, random comparison, but I get it, you know. In terms like these, Poseidon stirred the Achaeans, and round the two named dais they made stand. Hard companies the war god would not scorn, nor would Athena hope of soldiers. Gathering picked men faced the Trojan charge. Faced Hector, spear by spear and shield by shield in line with shield rims overlapping. Serried helms and men in ranks packed hard, their horse hair plumes brushed on one another when the shining crest would dip or turn. So dense they stood together, as from both hands the spear shafts closing up were pointed, quivering, and the men looked ahead, braced for battle. Trojans massed and running charged them now, with Hector in the lead in furious impetus. Like a rolling boulder, a river high with storm has torn away from a jutting bank by washing out what held it. Then the brute stone upon the flood goes tossed and tumbling, and the brush gives way, crashing before it. It must roll unchecked as far as level ground, then roll no more, however great its force had been. So Hector threatened at first to sweep clear the sea through huts and ships of the Achaeans, killing along the way. But when he reached the line of packed defenders, he stopped dead in his tracks. His adversaries, lunging out with swords and double-bladed spears, beat him away, so that he stepped back shaken. Then he cried, "Trojans, Lycians, Dardans, fight hard here. They cannot hold me, not for long, by making bastion closed in line together. No, I can see them break before the spear, if it is sure I have the first of gods behind me, Hera's consort, lord of thunder." Shouting, he cheered them on the attack, onto the attack. There we go. And Priam's son, Deiphobos, inflamed by a great hope, moved out ahead, his round shield forward as he trod, cattle-like, compact behind it. Then Meriones took aim and cast his shining spear. A direct hit on the round shield of bull's hide, but no breakthrough. The long shaft snapped off at the blade. Deiphobos had held his shield before at arm's length to counter that hard blow, and now Meriones retired amid his company, full of rage to see spearhead and victory broke off. Rearward he went, along the huts and ships, to get a long spear left inside his hut. The rest fought on, with long Daron battle cries, and Telamonian Teucros drew first blood by killing a son of Mentor, herder of horses, Imbrios the pikeman. Imbrios, really? That's the name? He had lived at Paidios before the Achaeans came, and had a young wife, Mediciceste, born of a slave to Priam. When the rolling ships of the Danaans beached he journeyed back to Iliad, stood high, and lived near Priam, who ranked him with his own sons. Teucros gashed Imbrios under the ear with his long weapon, then withdrew it. Down the Trojan went, as on a hilltop, visible far and wide. An ash hewn by an axe puts down its verdure, shining on the ground. I don't think I've heard the word verdure before. That's a new one. So he went down, and round him clanged his harness wrought in bronze. Teucros rushed in to strip him. As he did so, Hector aimed the thrust with his bright spear, but the alert man swerved before the point, escaping it by a hair's breadth. Hector hit a son of Catetos, Actorides, Amphimachus, with a spear thrust in the chest just as he joined the fight. He thudded down, and his armor clanged upon him. Hector lunged to pull away the brave man's fitted helm, and Aias reached for Hector with his spear, but nowhere shone his bare flesh, all concealed by his grim armor. Aias hit his shield boss hard and forced him backward, making Hector yield the dead. It's still funny to me that, like, in the middle of battle, everybody is just trying to steal everybody else's armor. They're just trying to plunder each other as they're fighting. The most inconvenient, like, if there has ever been any loot goblin-y behavior in history, this has got to be, like, top loot goblin, like, time frame right here in this one specific story, because they're always doing it in the middle of battle where they're in the front lines. They kill one guy and then they try to strip that guy. And it's like, bro, you're still fighting. What are you doing? And this has been happening the entire story. So in theory, this has been happening for the entirety of the 10 years they've been fighting one another. They're just like, fucking kill one guy, take his shit, kill another guy, try to take his shit, and try not to get killed so that you don't get your shit taken. Achaeans drew them off. Stichios and Menestus, in command of the Athenians, bore Amphimachus amid the Achaeans. As for Imbrios, one Aias and the other, fast and bold, took him as lions carry off a goat under the noses of a biting pack into a forest undergrowth. Aloft, cleared of the ground, they lug him in their jaws. Just so, with tossing plumes like manes, these two lugged Imbrios and stripped him of his gear. Then from his tender neck, Oilides, in anger for Amphimachus, lopped his head and bowled it through the melee till it tumbled in dust at Hector's feet. Poseidon, too, grew hot over Amphimachus, his grandson. Oh, is this not something they didn't tell us that Amphimachus was frickin' Poseidon's grandkid? Passing amid the huts and ships, he kindled fire in dens and devised Trojan's woe. Idomeneus now crossed his path, just come from a fellow captain slashed behind the knee, who had been helped by others from the battle. Idomeneus had commanded him to the surgeons and made his way now to his hut. He longed once more to join the fighting. The Earthshaker addressed him in the form and voice of Thoas. Andriamun's son, who ruled all Pleuron, all that steep land, Calydon of Aetolians, where country folk revered him as a god. As Thoas, now Poseidon, said, Idomeneus, marshal in mind of Cretans, what has become of those Achaean threats against the Trojans? The Cretan captain, in reply, said, Thoas, the blame cannot be pinned on any man. So far as I know, up to now, our people understand war. None is unmanned by fear. Not one has lagged or slipped away from the carnage. Only it must be somehow to the pleasure of arrogant Zeus, that here ingloriously far from Argos the Achaeans perish. Ah, Thoas, before this you have shown courage in danger, and when you see a man go slack, you brace him. No quitting now. Let every soldier hear it. Poseidon answered him, Idomeneus, let that man never voyage home from Troy, but be a carcass for the dogs to play with. Who would give up the fight this day? Come on, and bring your gear. No time to lose. We must hit hard and hit together, both of us, if we are to make our presence felt. When feeble men join forces, then their courage counts for something. Ours should count for more, since we can fight with any. So the god took part with men once more in toil of combat. When he had reached his hut, Idomeneus bound on his handsome armor, took 2 spears, and ran out like a lightning bolt, picked up by Zeus and handled flickering on Olympus when he would make a sign to men. The jagged dance of its blinding light. So as he ran, bronze flashed about his breast. Meriones, his valiant aide, came up, still near the hut, on his way to get a bladed spear to carry. And mighty Idomeneus said, Meriones, Mollus's dear son, good runner, best of friends, how is it that you left the battle? Have you been hit? Some arrow grinding in you? Or were you bringing word to me? No sitting still in huts for me. I long to fight. The cool man said, Idomeneus, counselor of battlecraft to Cretans under arms, I came to see if any spears left here I can use. I shattered mine just now against Deiphobos' shield. Idomeneus answered, Spears, all you desire. 21 spears you'll find inside, arrayed against the bright wall of the entranceway. All Trojan. I win weapons from the dead. I do not hold with fighting at long range, therefore I have the spears and shields as well, and helms as well, and bright-faced cuirasses. Meriones, the cool man, in reply said, In my quarters at my ship I too have plenty of Trojan Trojan gear, not near at hand, though. As I say I am not, I say, a man to pass up any attack. I take my place in the front rank for action and for honor whenever battle's joined. There may be others who have not seen me fight, but I believe you know me. The captain of Cretans said, Know you and how you stand. Why need you say it? Suppose amid the ships we picked our best for a surprise attack. That is the place where fighting qualities in truth come out, and you can tell a brave man from a coward. This one's face goes greener by the minute. He is so shaky he cannot control himself, but fidgets first on one foot, then the other, his teeth chattering, his heart inside him bounding against his ribs as shapes of death foreseen. As for the brave man, his face never changes, and no great fear is in him. When he moves into position for an ambuscade, Ambuscade. What in the world? His prayer is all for combat, hand to hand and sharp and soon. Well, no man then would look down on your heart and fighting skill, and where you hit by a missile or thrust into the toil of war, the blow would never come from behind on nape or back, but in the chest or belly as you waded in to give and take at the battle line. But no more talk or dawdling here like children. Someone might sneer and make an issue of it. Go to my hut and choose a battle spear. Meriones, peer of Ares, in a flash picked from the hut a bladed spear and ran after Idomeneus, athirst for battle. Imagine Ares, bane of men, when he goes into combat with the rout close behind, his cold and powerful son, who turns the toughest warriors in his tracks, from Theresites to take arms against Ephyroe, or gallant Phrygia, but not for them to heed both sides, they honor one with glory. Just so Meriones and Idomeneus, helmed in fiery bronze, captains of men, made their way to battle, but Meriones asked his friend, son of Deucalion, "Where do you say we join the combat? On the right, or in the center, or on the left? I find the Achaeans there, if anywhere, short-handed on this attack." The Cretan captain said, "The middle ships have their defenders. Aias Telamonius, Aias Oileiades." Aias and Aias. They could have just said Aias and Aias. "Our best hand with a bow, and brave at close quarters. They will give Hector more than he can handle in this battle, hot as he is for war. He's powerful, yes, but he will find it uphill work to conquer these sharp fighters' formidable hands, and set our ships aflame, unless Lord Zeus should toss a firebrand overboard himself. No mortal nourished on Demeter's meal, none vulnerable to bronze or stone, will make the Telamonian Aias yield. He would not in a stand-up fight give ground to dire Achilles, whom in a running fight no man can touch. This way for us then, to the armies left, to see how soon we'll give some fellow glory or win it from him." Swift as the god of war, Meriones was off and led the way to the part of the line his friend required. When the Achaeans saw Idomeneus in fresh strength, like a flame, with his companion richly armed, all gave a shout and grouped around him, and a great fight hand to hand arose at the ship's sterns. Gusts of crying wind on days when dust lies thickest on the lanes will wrestle and rise a dust cloud high. More analogies to nature and stuff, Jesus. So spread this melee as men came together, sworn with whetted bronze to kill and strip each other. I guess there's really no other way of making money these days, huh? Just you gotta take what a guy's got. Ay, ay, ay. I guess that makes sense though, right? Because, you're sieging a place for 10 years, which requires money, and how else do you get money but to, I guess, trade off the stuff you get? Bristling spines of long flesh-tearing spears went home in the daily press, and a man's eyes failed before the flash of brazen helmets, cuirasses like mirrors, and bright shields and sunlight clashing. Only a man of iron could have looked on light-hearted at the fight and suffering, and suffered nothing. At cross purposes, the sons of Cronos in their power brought on bitter losses and death for brave men. Zeus on one hand willed for Hector and the Trojans' victory, to vindicate Achilles. At the same time, he willed no annihilation for the Achaeans before Troy, but only honor to Thetis and her lion-like son. Poseidon, for his part, now roused the Argives moving among them after he emerged in secret from the Grey Sea. Being grieved by Argive losses at the Trojans' hands, he felt bitter indignation against Zeus. Both gods were of the same stock, had one father, but Zeus had been the firstborn and knew far more. In giving aid, Poseidon therefore would not give it openly. Always under cover, in a man's likeness, he inspired the ranks. These gods had interlocked and drawn an ultimate hard line of strife and war between the armies. None could lose or break that line that had undone the knees of many men. I kind of forgot that this whole thing was happening so that, So that because freaking Thetis came to Zeus and was like, please, please, and Zeus is like, fine. And so he's having the freaking the Achaeans get just like curb stomped a little, or at least he's trying to, if it weren't for Poseidon, so that Achilles could be like vindicated, basically. Idomeneus belied his grizzled head, and calling on Danaans with a bound scattered the Trojans, for he killed Othryoneus of Cabessos, a guest of Troy. This man had come on hearing lately of the war, and bid for Cassandra, the most beautiful of Priam's daughters. Though he had brought no gifts, he promised a great feat, to drive from Troy the army of Achaeans willy-nilly. The old Priam had agreed to give her, nodding his head on it. So the man fought confident in these promises. Idomeneus aimed at him with long spear flashing bright, and caught him in the mid-stride. His plate of bronze could not deflect the point driven in his belly, and down he crashed. The other taunted him. Othryoneus, I'll sing your praise above all others, if you do your part for Priam. He had promised you his daughter. Well, we could promise and fulfill it too, to give you Agamemnon's loveliest daughter brought out of Argos for you as your bride, if you would join to plunder Troy. Come, and we'll make the marriage bond aboard the ships. There's no parsimony in us when it comes to bridal gifts. With this, he dragged him by the foot out of combat. What, is he still alive? Asius, now dismounted, moved up fast to fight over the body, while his driver held the horses panting at his shoulders. Putting his heart into the cast, he tried to hit Idomeneus, but the Achaean whipped his missile in the head and struck his throat under the shin, running him through with bronze. Tall Asius fell the way an oak or poplar falls, or a towering pine, that shipbuilders in the mountain places with fresh whetted axes fell to make ships timber. So full length he lay before his team and chariot, wheezing, clutching at the bloody dust. His stunned driver had lost what wits he had, and did not dare to break from his enemies by wheeling his team around. Antilochus put a spear into him, and the bronze he wore could not deflect the point driven in his belly, and with a gasp he pitched down from the car. His team was taken by Antilochus, great-hearted Nestor's son, amid the Achaeans. There go Asius. Enraged at Asius's fall, Deiphobos went from Idomeneus with a hard spear cast, but he foresaw the blow and dodged the point by disappearing under his round shield of bull's hide, fitted on two struts of bars, and plated with concentric rings of bronze. Under this he packed himself, as over it the bronze-shod spear passed, and his shield rang out under the glancing blow. But not for nothing, thrown by Deiphobos' brawny hand, the spear hit a commander, Hypsenor, son of Hippasos, in the liver under the diaphragm. Yikes. That's gotta be some BS, bro. Can you imagine one guy deflects the blow of another guy, and that guy's blow instead ricochets into you? I would be mad. Like, I'll meet you in the afterlife, bro. And brought him tumbling down. Deiphobos gave a great shout and exulted. Asios is down, but there's revenge. On his journey to death's iron gate, he will be glad I gave him company. This went home to the Argives, most of all Antilochus, whose heart was stirred, but in his grief he still bethought himself of his companion. On the run he reached him, straddled him, and held his shield above him. Two other friends, Megistius' son, Echius' son, and brave Alastor, bent to lift and carry him, groaning deeply, to the sheltering ships. Idomeneus' passion for battle never waned. He strove to shroud some Trojans in hell's night, or else himself to fall. as he fought off the black hour for Achaeans. Now he met Alcatus, damn, this one's rough. Aeetes' noble son, Anchises' son-in-law. This man had married Hippodamia, eldest of the daughters, dearest to her father and gentle mother in their great hall. In beauty, skill, and wit, she had excelled all girls of her own age. For this reason, too, the man who won her had been the noblest suitor in all Troy. Now it was he that by Idomeneus' hand Poseidon overcame. The god entranced his shining eyes and hobbled his fine legs, so that he could not turn back or maneuver. But like a pillar or a full-grown tree, he stood without a tremor. Square in the chest, Idomeneus caught him, sundering the cuirass that until now had saved his flesh from harm. And now at last he cried out, the rending spear between his ribs, and down he crashed, his heart being driven through in its last throes, making the spear butt quake. The mighty war god then extinguished all his force. Idomeneus yelled and exulted savagely, "Ah, then, Deiphobos, shall we call it quits for when three are down for one? You counted first. Bright soul, come forward now yourself and face me. Learn what I am. I come in the line of Zeus, who fathered Minos, lord of the Cretan seas, and he in turn fathered Deucalion, who fathered me, commander of many fighters in the wide land of Crete. Then here to Troy my ships brought me to plague you and your father and all the Trojans." Challenged so, Deiphobos weighed the choice before him. Should he pair with the same brave Trojan, going back to get him, or take Idomeneus on alone? It seemed more promising to him to join Aeneas, whom he discovered in battle's rear, standing apart, resentful against Priam. As Priam slighted him among his peers, Deiphobos reached his side and said to him swiftly, "Counselor of Trojans, you must come defend your kinsman if his death affects you. Follow me to protect Alcatos, your sister's husband, who made you his ward when you were still a small child in his house. The great spearman Idomeneus brought him down." The appeal aroused Aeneas. Craving battle, he charged Idomeneus, and he, no child to be overtaken by a qualm of fear, steadily waited, like a mountain boar who knows his power, facing a noisy hunt in a lonely place. His backbone bristles rise. Both eyes are fiery, gnashing his tusk. He waits in fury to drive back dogs and men. Idomeneus, great spearman, so waited without a backward step Aeneas' onset. But to his friends he called out, looking back at Apharius, Ascalapos, Deipyros, and those two masters of the battle cry, Meriones and Antiplicus. He sent an urgent cry to alert them. "This way, friends! Give me a hand here. I am alone. I have a nasty fear of the great runner, Aeneas, now upon me. He has power to kill, and has the bloom of youth that is the greatest strength of all." The man said he's too young. He's young and he wants to fight. That scares me. "If we were matched in ages as in our spirits in a single fight, then quickly he or I should bear away the glory." As he spoke with one mind, all the others closed around him, taking position, shields hard on their shoulders. Aeneas, too, on his side, turned and called Deiphobos and Paris and Agenor, fellow captains of Trojans. Troops moved up behind him now, as a flock out of a pasture follows a ram to drink, and the shepherd's heart rejoices. So did Aeneas' heart rejoice to see the men at arms follow his lead. Both masses come together, hand to hand, around Alcatos, long polished spear shafts crossing, and the bronze on the men's ribs rang like anvils from the blows they aimed at one another. Most of all, those peers of Ares, Aeneas and Idomeneus, strove with heartless bronze to rend each other. They really want to throw hands. Aeneas made the first throw, but his adversary saw the aim and twisted to elude it, so that Aeneas' point went home in earth and struck with quivering shaft. The force he gave it The force he gave it with great arm spent on the air. Idomeneus for his part thrust and hit Oinamos mid-belly, breaking through his cuirass joint, and the bronze lance head split his guts like water. Dropping in the dust, the Trojan clawed the ground. Idomeneus pulled his long spear out, but could not strip the Trojan's shoulder of his gear, being driven back by spear throws. And then, too, he was no longer certain of his footwork in lunging or recovery, but fought defensively against the evil hour, his legs no longer nimble in retreat. Now, as he gave way step by step, Deiphobos, implacable against him, made a throw but missed again. He hit Ascalaphos, a son of the god Ares, running him through the shoulder with his heavy spear. He fell on the dust and clawed the ground, and roaring Ares heard no news as yet that his own son died in that melee. No, for he was sitting on high Olympus under golden clouds, restrained by the will of Zeus, as were the other immortal gods, all shut away from war. But hand to hand around Acalaphos, the fight went on. Deiphobos took the dead man's helm, but Meriones, fast as the war god, leaped and speared the Trojan with an outstretched arm. The crest helm fell with a hollow clang, and with a falcon's pounce Meriones regained his spear and jerked it from Deiphobos' upper arm at the shoulder joint. Then back he turned to merge into his company. A brother of the wounded man, Polites, putting an arm around his waist, withdrew him out of the battle din to where his team stood stood waiting in the rear with cart and driver. Polites, is this like the Polites? Like Odysseus's Polites or what? Away to Troy they bore Deiphobos. I know I'm saying this wrong, but I just keep saying Deiphobos, basically. Deiphobos, who groaned in his distress while blood ran through his arm from the open wound, and still the others fought as the long-drawn battle cry arose, laughing at Apherus, son of Caletor. Aeneas hit his throat as he turned toward him and cut it with his sharp spear point. The head fell to one side as shield and helm rang out, and death, destroyer of ardor, flooded him. Antilochus' sharp eye on Thun saw him turn away, and in one leap he slashed the vein that, running up the back, comes out along the neck. He sheared it from the body, so that the man fell backwards in the dust with arms out to his friends. Antilochus closed to take the harness off his shoulders watchfully as the Trojans from all sides moved up and struck at his broad, glittering shield, but none with his cold-hearted bronze could scratch Antilochus' a tender skin, because Poseidon protected him amid those many blows, and never out of range of them he turned upon his enemies, the spear shaft swerving and never still, with his intent to throw it and bring someone down, or to close in and kill. Damn. Gonna drink a little more. Now Asius' son, Adamas, caught him as he aimed and struck him, stepping in close, driving his point mid-shield, but felt the spear shaft broken by Poseidon, who grudged him this man's life. One half the spear hung like a fire-hardened stake impaled on the shield of Antilochus, while on the ground the other half lay. Then Adamas backed into his throng of friends, away from death, but as he drew away, Meriones went for him and hit him with a spear throw, low between genitals and navel. Damn. Ow. There where pain of war grieves mortal wretches most. The spear transfixed him, and doubled up on it, as a wild bullock in the hills will thrive and twitch when herdsmen fetter and drag him down. So did the stricken man, but not for long before Meriones bent near and pulled out spear head from flesh. Then night closed on his eyes. Now with his Thracian broadsword, Helenus cut at Deipyros, Deipyrus's head and broke his helm off. Buffeted to the ground and underfoot it rolled till an Achaean fighter caught it, but black night closed on Deipyrus's eyes. Grief at his death took a great-lunged Menelaus, and menacing with hefted spear he bore down on Lord Helenos, while Helenos drew arrowhead to hand grip. All at once, one made his cast, the other man let fly, and Priam's son hit Menelaus's breast upon his armor roundure, but the barbed shaft went skittering. On a threshing floor, one sees how dark-skinned beans or chickpeas leap from a board shovel under a sharp wind. At the toss of the winnower, just so from shining Menelaus's cuirass, now the bitter arrow bounced up and away. Meanwhile, the son of Atreus, Clerion, in battle, struck the hand that held the bow. He drove his brazen spearhead through the knuckles into the bow stave. Helenus recoiled amid his countrymen, eluding death, his dangling left hand dragging the ashwood spear. A great-hearted Agenor drew the spearhead out and bound his hand in sheep's wool from a sling, and aid supplied him. Then came Pisandros in a rush at the great figure of Menelaus. Impaled by fatal destiny to fall before you in the melee, Menelaus, and when the range narrowed between these two, Menelaus missed, the spear was turned aside, but Pisandros got home his stroke upon Menelaus' shield, only he could not drive his metal in and through. The shield held fast, the shaft below the spearhead broke. Yet, even so in joy he hoped for victory. By the silver-studded hilt of Menelaus drew his long sword as he leapt on Pisandros, who now brought out from underneath his shield a double axe on a long polished helve. In one great shock both men attacked at once. Axe head on helmet ridge below the crest came hewing down, but the sword stroke above the nose on the oncoming blow went home. It cracked the bone, and both his eyes were split in the blood into dust at his feet as he bent over and fell. Menelaus followed to spurn the man's chest with his foot and strip his gear away, and glorying over him he said, Here is the way back from the ships. This way you'll leave our beachhead Trojans who have not yet enough of war. You don't lack vileness otherwise, or crime committed against me, you yellow dogs. You knew no fear of Zeus and his high thunder, lord of guests, no forethought of his anger harshly rising. He will yet destroy your cragging city for you, my true queen you carried off by sea with loads of treasure after a friendly welcome at her hands. This time you lust to pitch devouring fire into our deep-sea ships and kill Achaeans. You will be stopped somehow, though savage war is what you crave. Then in a lower tone he said, O Father Zeus, incomparable they say you are among all gods and men for wisdom. Yet this battle comes for you. How strange that you should favor the offenders, favor the Trojans on their insolence, ever insatiable for war. All things have served fate, even sleep and love and song and noble dancing, things a man may wish to take his fill of, and far more than war. But Trojans will not get their fill of fighting. Menelaus, as he spoke, had ripped away and given his men the dead man's blood-stained arms. Now, once more, yet again, he entered combat. In a surge against him came Harpalion, King Palaemon son, who journeyed with his father to make war at Troy, never thereafter to come home. At close quarters, this fighter hit the shield of Menelaus, but he could not drive the bronze onward and through it. Backward and recoil, he shrank amid his people, shunning death with wary glances all around, for anyone whose weapon might have nicked him. After him, though, Meriones let fly a bronze-shod arrow, and it punched through his right buttock. Damn, right in the ass. He got shot in the butt, bro. That's messed up. Past the pelvic bone into his bladder. On the spot, he sank down in his haunches, panting out his life amid the hands of fellow soldiers. Then he lengthened out like an earthworm, as dark blood flowing from him stained the ground. Falling to work around him, Paphlagonians lifted him in a car and drove him back to Troy in sorrow. I don't think this name has been brought up. Paphlagonians. That one, I don't remember the Paphlagonians ever being mentioned. And his father, weeping, walked behind. There was no retribution for the dead son, but the death angered Paris, because among the Paphlagonians the man had been his guest and his friend. In anger now he let an arrow fly. There was a young Achaean named Euchenor, noble and rich, having his house at Corinth, a son of the visionary Palliados. When he took ship, he knew his destiny, for Palliados had foretold it often. He was to die of illness in his Megaron, or else go down to death at Trojan hands amid the Achaean ships. Two things at once he had therefore avoided: the heavy fine men paid who stayed at home, and the long pain of bidding mortal illness. Paris's arrow pierced him below jaw and ear, and quickly life ebbed from his body. The cold night enwrapped him, and the rest fought on like fire's body leaping. Hector had not learned that Trojans on their flank near their ships were being cut to pieces. Victory there was almost in Achaean hands. Poseidon urged them on so, and so lent them strength. But Hector held that ground where first he broke through the gate and wall and deep ranks of Danaans. There were the ships of Aias and Protesilaus were drawn up on the grey sea beach, and landward the parapet had been constructed lowest. Here in chariots or on foot, the Achaeans fought most bitterly. Boeotians, Ionians, and Long-Chitones, men of Locris, men of Phthia, illustrious Epioi, fought off Hector from the ships, but could not throw him back as he came on like flame. Hector is just not giving up. Man has like a whole... like everybody's trying to push this man back, and this man is just not going. Athenians picked men. Picked men were here. Their chief, Piteus' son, Menestius, and his aides, Fides and Stricios, rugged bias. What does that mean? Rugged bias? Or is rugged bias just another guy? Next, the Epean leaders, Meges, son of Phyleus, Amphion and Dracios of Phthia, then Medon and staunch Podarches. This Medon, noble Oileus' bastard son and Aias' brother, that lived in Philike, far from his fatherland, as he had killed a kinsman of Oileus' second lady, Areopis. As for the lord Podarches, he was a son of Iphiclus, Phylacides. These then, in arms before the men of Phthia, fought for the ships at the Boeotians' side. There we go. Boeotians. That's just a silly word, okay? Boeotians. But Aias, Oileus' quick son, would never, not for a moment, leave Telamonian Aias. I mean, that makes sense, you know? They're both like... they're both each other's brothers, so... Those two men worked together like dark oxen, pulling with equal heart a bolted plow in fellow land. You know how round the base of each curved horn the sweat pours down, and how one smooth worn yoke will hold the oxen close, cutting a furrow to the field's edge. So these toiling heroes clove to one another. Surely the Telamonian had retainers, many and courageous countrymen, who took his shield and when weariness came on him and sweat ran down his knees. No Locrians backed up the other Aias, Oileus' son. They could not have sustained close order combat, having no helms of bronze and horse-haired crests, no round shields and no spears of ash. In fact, when they took ship together for Ilion, they put their faith in bows and braided sheep-wool strings, with which they broke the Trojan lines by pelting volleys. Now the men in armor fought with Trojans in the front lines, fought with Hector, hand to hand, but in the rear the bowmen shot, being safely out of range, and Trojans lost their appetite for battle as arrows drove them in retreat. At this, they might have left the ships and the encampment wretchedly to return to windy Troy, had not Polydamas moved close to Hector, saying, "You are a hard man to persuade. Zeus gave you mastery in arms, therefore you think to excel in strategy as well, and yet you cannot have all gifts at once. Heaven gives one man skill in arms, another skill in dancing, and a third man skill at gittering harp and song. But the Lord Zeus, who views the wide world, has instilled clear thought in yet another. By his aid men flourish, and there are many he can save. He knows better than any what his gift is worth. Let me tell you the best thing as I see it. Now everywhere around you in a ring, the battle rages. Ever since the Trojans crossed the wall, some have hung back, though armed, while others do the fighting, and these few outnumbered are dispersed along the ships. Give way. Call all our captains back. We'll test their plans of action, everyone. Shall we attack the deep sea ships? Can we assume gods will grant? Can we assume God's wills? Can we assume God wills to grant the day to us? And could we retire from the ships without a slaughter? As for me, I fear the Achaeans may still pay the debt they owe for yesterday, as long as the man we know, famished for battle, lingers on the beachhead. I doubt he'll keep from fighting any longer. I assume they're talking about Achilles, really, there. This weariness won Hector's nod. At once down from his chariot, he swung to earth with all his weapons and commanded swiftly, "Polydamas, it is up to you to call and hold our captains while I take on the battle over there. I will come back as soon as I have made my orders clear to them." Towering like a snow peak, off he went with a ruckus cry, traversing on the run Trojans and allied troops. Their officers collected near Polydamas on hearing new commands from Hector. Deiphobos, Lord Helenus, Adamas, son of Asius, and Asius, Hyrtacus' son. Is there two different Asiuses? Am I tripping? Is there like an older Asius and then there's just Asius, who's another guy's son? How did I not take notice of this? Were those he looked for down the front. Safe and unhurt, he scarcely found them. Those who lost their lives at Argive hands were laying near the sterns. Others were thrown back on the wall with wounds, but one man he soon found on the left flank of grievous battle, Prince Alexandros, husband of Helen of the shining hair. Strange title, but okay. He stood there, cheering on his company, and stepping near him, Hector spoke to him in bitterness. Oh, that's Paris. Paris, you bad luck charm, so brave to look at, woman-crazed seducer. Where is Deiphobos and Helenus, Asius, Hyrtacus' son, Adamas, his son? And where is Othrianus? If these are gone, tall Ilion is crumbling. Sure, disaster lies ahead. Okay, no, so there isn't two different Asiuses, okay? It's just Asius, and the guy brought his son along. So I guess Asius is probably, like, fairly older then, no? If he's bringing, like, a whole kid with him, who's probably not that much of a kid. Unless the kid's, like, a teenager, and Asius is, like, in his 30s, or... I assume he's either in his 30s or his 40s, then... Alexandrus replied, "Hector, since you are moved to blame the blameless, there may be times when I break off the fighting, but I will not now. my mother bore me to be no milksop. From the hour you roused our men to battle, for the ships we have been here engaging the Danaans without respite. As for the friends you look for, some are dead. Deiphobos and Helenus went off, I think, with spear wounds in the hand, but the Lord Zeus has guarded them from slaughter. Lead us now wherever your high heart requires. We are behind you, we are fresh, and lack no spirit in attack. I promise up to the limit of our strength. Beyond that no man's fights, though he may wish to. With these mild words he won his brother over. I like how mild words. Just the backhanded description. Into the thick of battle both men went. Round Cabriones, Polydamas, and Phalces, Ortheos, godlike Polyphetes, Palmes, and the sons of Hippotion, Ascanius, and Maurice. Maurice! Why am I thinking the guy from fucking Madagascar? Maurice! What are you doing fighting in Troy, Maurice? And these had come the day before at dawn. The replacements from Ascanius' plowland. Zeus now intensified the fight. Men charged like rough winds in a storm launched on earth in thunder of Father Zeus. When roaring high, the wind and ocean rise together. Swell on swell of clamorous foaming sea goes forward, snowy crested, curling, ranked ahead and ranked behind. So line by compact line advanced the Trojan, glittering in bronze behind his captains. both gods just keep like pushing their men, and the men are just like in the middle of this like this little infighting that Zeus doesn't even know Poseidon is buffing up the other side. So I'm sure he's wondering what the hell's taking so long. Hector in the lead, peer of the man-destroying god of war, held out his round shield, thick in bull's hide, nailed with many studs of bronze, and round his temples his bright helmet nodded. Feinting attack now here, now there, along the front, he tried the enemy to see if they would yield before his shield rush, but could not yet bewilder the tough hearts of the Achaeans. Aias, with a giant stride, moved out to challenge him. Come closer, clever one. Is this your way to terrify the Argives? No, we are not so innocent of battle, only worsened by the scourge of Zeus. And now your heart desires to storm our ships, but we have strong arms too, arms to defend them. Sooner your well-built town shall fall to our assault, taken by storm and plundered. As for yourself, the time is near, I say, when in retreat you'll pray to Father Zeus that your fine team be faster than paired falcons, pulling you Troyward, making a dust cloud boil along the plain. At these words on the right, an eagle soared across the sky. Iake, the Achaeans' army cried at this. In splendor Hector shouted, Aias, how you blubber, clumsy ox, what rot you talk. I wish I were as surely as all my days as the son of Zeus who bears the storm cloud, born to Lady Hera, honored like Athena, or like Apollo, as this day will surely bring the Argive woe to every man. You will be killed among them. Only dare stand up to my long spear. That fair white flesh my spear will cut to pieces. Then you'll glut with fat and lean the dogs and carrion birds off the Trojan land. You'll die there by your ships. He finished and led onward. The front rank moved out after him with a wild cry, and from the rear the troops sheered. Facing them, the Argives raised a shout. They had not lost their grip in valor, but now braced to meet the Trojan onslaught. Clamor from both sides went up to the pure rays of Zeus in heaven. We're still ongoing. How many? I thought a certain event was gonna happen, but it does not seem like it's gonna happen just yet. Hey, my bones. Oh, I think gonna try and get some water for myself because I am running out of coffee here. I am running out of drink, and therefore will suffer the consequences of having a dry throat if I don't get some more. So I'm gonna go get myself some water, probably warm it up as well so that I don't freaking freeze as I read this. So consider this a 10-minute break. I'll be back sooner than you think. Oh, wrong one. There we go. Pescado. Alright, so that. Uh, sorry, I just began to talk and my brain just died. Oh, jeez. I'm back. That took a little longer than I had intended, so I technically lied and I apologize. I hadn't expected to need to use the bathroom. I was just gonna, like, put my stovetop thing on, like, medium high and then just kind of wait for the water to get warm. But then I was like, yeah, let me skedaddle to the restroom real quick. And then I was just kind of stuck there for a while. I shall not give any details. Anyway, let's just keep going with book 14 or chapter 13, whatever you want to call it. Beguilement of Mount Ida. Beguilement? What does that word even mean? Someone look that up. Now Nestor heard that tumult while he drank, but finished drinking. While he drank, but finished drinking. That's English, apparently. Then he turned and said to Asclepius' son, "Consider now, Macon, what had best be done here. Battle cries of young fighters are louder near the ships. As for yourself, be easy. Drink my wine, till Hecamede has a cauldron warmed and bathes your clotted blood away. For my part, I'll go outside and find a lookout point." He picked up on the hut a shield that lay there, all aglow with bronze, one that belonged to a son of his, a horseman, Thrasymedes. How many? Once again, well, no, this is, hold on, Nestor, never mind. I almost confused Nestor for, Priam again. Just, you can't blame me, okay? Priam has like 1 million sons. He picked up, Thrasymedes, who bore that day his father's shield. Then Nestor shows a burly new whetted spear, and stepping out, he saw the grim day's work. Achaeans driven back at bay, elated Trojans pressing on, the wall torn down. As when the open ocean rises and a laden smooth ground swell, forerunner of high winds, a rocking swell, directionless, that neither rolls nor breaks, until a blow comes on from Zeus. Just so the old man pondered, with divided mind, whether to turn towards the Danaans' mass or find and join Lord Marshal Agamemnon. Then he decided, it seems best to him to join the son of Atreus. In the line, soldiers meanwhile fought on to strip each other, metal upon their bodies clinging loud with sword blows and the double-bladed spears. But now to Nestor's side, the princes came along the shipways, those who had been hit. Diomedes, Odysseus, Agamemnon, leaving near the rear where, distant from the fighting, ships were beached along the wash of surf. Higher inland were those first dragged ashore, around whose stern the wall was built. In rows they kept the ships drawn up. Even that wide shore could not contain the fleet in one long line. They hauled them up, therefore, wave after wave, and filled the beach between two promontories. Now headed inland, eyes upon the melee, the princes came that way, leaning on spears, with aching hearts, and the advent of Nestor gave their hearts a new twinge. Agamemnon hailed him, saying, "Nestor, son of Neleus, pride of Achaeans, why turn this way, seaward, away from the battle danger? Now I fear their champion Hector will make good his word, the threat he made in his harangue to Trojans, not to return to Ilion from the beachhead until he fired our ships and killed our men. So he proclaimed. Now it is coming true. My God, it seems the rest of the Achaeans, like Achilles, hold a grudge against me. They have no will to fight to save the ships." Yes, they do, bro. You're not even up there fighting. What are you talking about? Lord Nestor of Gerenia replied, "What you describe is all too clear. High thundering Zeus himself could not now otherwise dispose to fight. Those walls are overthrown. We put our trust in as impregnable. a bulwark for the ships and for ourselves. The enemies brought the battle down hard on the ships. You could not, if you try and make out whether from left or right, our troops are harried most and thrown into confusion. Men go down on every hand. Their death cries rise in the air. We must think what to do, if any good can be achieved by thinking. I do not say that we should enter combat. Hurt men cannot fight. And the Lord Marshal Agamemnon said, since now they press the fight around the ship's sterns, neither wall nor moat made any difference, though painful labor built them, and Danaans dearly hoped they'd make a shield to save our ships and men. This must be somehow satisfactory to the high mind of Zeus, that far from Argos Achaeans perish without a name. I knew it when he favored us and saved us. I know it now when he glorifies our enemies, treating them like gods. He tied our hands. He took the heart out of us. Come, everyone, do as I say. Haul down the line of ships nearest the sea to launch on the bright breakers. Moor them afloat till starry night comes on and Trojans break off battle. Under cover of darkness we may launch the rest. There's no disgrace in getting away from ruin, not by a night retreatment. Better a man should leave the worst behind him than be caught. Odysseus, the great tactician, frowned. Of course he's going to be the one frowning, and looked at him and answered, Son of Atreus, what kind of talk is this? Hell's misery! I'd put you in command of some disordered rabble, not an army of strong as our own. Our lot from youth to age was given us by Zeus, danger and war to wind upon the spindle of our years until we die to the last man. Would you then quit and abandon forever the fine town of Troy that we have fought for all these years, taking our losses? Quiet, or some other Achaeans may get wind of this. No, no man who knew what judgment is in speech could ever allow that thought to pass his lips. No man who bore a staff, and whom army corps obey, as Argives would obey you, would obedience to you. Obedience to you. Damn, I cannot read. Contempt, no less, is what I feel for you after sneaking thing that you propose. While the two armies are in desperate combat, haul our ships into the sea? You'd give the Trojans one more thing to glory over, and they are winning out, God's knows already. As for ourselves, sheer ruin is what it means. While our longships are hauled down, will the soldiers hold the line? Will they not look seaward and lose their appetite for battle? There, commander, is your way to wreck us all. The Lord Marshal answered him, You hit hard and the blow comes home, Odysseus. Let it be clear, I would not urge the troops to launch against their will and yours, not I. Whoever has a battle plan should speak, young man or old. I would be glad to hear it. Now Diomedes of the great war cry spoke of. Here's one, and no need to go afield for it. If you are willing to be swayed and are not irritated with me, the youngest here, I too can claim a brave and noble father, Tydeus, whom funeral earth at Thebes has mounded over. To Portheus three excellent sons were born, who lived in Pleuron and in Calydon, Agrius, Meles, and the horseman Oeneus, bravest of all and father of my father. Oeneus remained there, while my wandering father stayed in Argos. It was the will of Zeus and the other gods. He took Adrestus' daughter as bride and founded a great house. Grainlands enough he owned, and he owned orchards thick with trees and herbs and flocks aplenty. Beyond that, he was best of all Achaeans in handling a spear. You must have heard this and know the truth of it. My lineage therefore is noble. If what I say is well said, you may not disregard it. Let us go this way to battle, wounded as we are. We have no choice. There in the field we may keep clear of missiles, not to be hit again, but put heart in the rest, just before they save themselves and shirk the fight. To this the others, listening hard, gave their assent. They turned and Agamemnon led them forward. This would And this was not lost on the god who shakes the earth, who now appeared as an old man and walked beside them, taking Agamemnon's hand, saying to him in a clear voice rapidly, "Son of Atreus, think how the fierce heart must sing now in Achilles' breast to see the slaughter and rout of Achaeans. Compassion is not in him. Let him rot then. Some god crush him. But the gods in bliss are not unalterably enraged with you. Somehow the hour will come when Trojan captains make the wide plain smoke with dust and chariots racing from camp and ship back to the city." Launching himself upon the field of war, he broke into a shout 9 or 10,000 men who yelled in battle might have made, meeting in shock of combat. From his lungs, the powerful earth-shaker sent aloft a cry like that. In every Achaean heart, he put the nerve to fight and not be broken. Now Lady Hera of the Golden Chair had turned her eyes upon the war. She stood apart upon the snow crest of Olympus and recognized her brother-in-law, her brother striving in battle, breathing hard, a sight that pleased her. Then she looked at Zeus, who rested high on the ridge of Ida, bright with spring, and found him odious. Her ladyship of the wide eyes took thought how to distract her lord, who bears the storm cloud. Her best plan, she thought, was this: to send and adorn herself and visit Ida, hoping hot desire might rise him, desire to lie with her and make love to her nakedness, that so she might infuse warm slumber in his eyes and over his shrewd heart. Damn. I mean, that's definitely one way to try and distract the guy. She's like, yes, how do I make sure Zeus doesn't take notice of Poseidon? Let's try to fuck. That's straight up the plan. And you know Zeus, he's definitely a horn dog, so that might work. She entered then the chamber built for her by her own son, Hephaestus, who had fitted door to doorpost using a secret bolt no god could force. These shining doors the goddess closed behind her, and with ambrosia cleansed all stain away from her delicate skin. Then with fine oil she smoothed herself, and this, her scented oil, unstoppered in the bronze-floored house of Zeus, cast fragrance over the earth and heaven. Hera, having anointed all her graceful body and having combed her hair, plaited it shining in braids from her immortal head. That done, she had a wondrous gown worked by Athena in downy linen with embroideries. She caught this at her breast with gold pins and girded it with a waistband, sewn all around with 100 tassels. Then she hung mulberry-colored pendants in her earlobes, and the loveliness shone around her. A new headdress, white as the sun, she took a veil with her glory, and on her smooth feet tied her beautiful sandals. Exquisite and adorned from head to foot, she left her chamber. Beckoning Aphrodite, she spoke to her apart from all the rest. "Will you give heed to me and do as I say and not be difficult? Even though you are vexed that I give aid and comfort to Danaans as you do to the Trojans?" Aphrodite, daughter of Zeus, replied, "Hera, most honored of goddesses, being Cronos' own daughter, say what you have in mind. I am disposed to do it if I can, and if it is a thing that one may do." And Lady Hera, deep in her beguilement, answered, "Lend me longing, lend me desire, by which you bring immortals low as you do mortal men. I am on my way to kind earth's born, to seek Oceanus, from whom the gods arose, and mother Titus. In their great halls they nurtured me, their gift from Rhea, when Lord Zeus of the wide gaze put Cronos down deep under earth and sea. I go to see them and compose their quarrel, estranged so long they have not once made love since anger came between them. Could I coax them into their bed to give and take delight, I should be praised and dear to them forever." Aphrodite, lover of smiling eyes, replied to her, "It is not possible and not expedient either to deny you who go to lie in the great arms of Zeus." Now she unfastened them. She unfastened from around her breast a piece bro- brocaded girdle. Her enchantments came from this: allurement of the eyes, hunger of longing, and the touch of lips that steal all wisdom from the coolest men. This she bestowed in Hera's hands and murmured, "Take this girdle, keep it in your breast. Here is all suavities and charms of love. I do not think you will be ineffective in what you plan." Then wide-eyed Hera smiled, and smiling put the talisman in her breast. Aphrodite entered her father's house, but Hera glided from Olympus, passing Pieria and cherished Emathia, flashing above the snowy-crested hills of Thracian horsemen. Never touching down, she turned from Athos over the sea waves to Lemnos, to the stronghold of old Thoas. Here she fell with Sleep, brother of Death, and took his hand and held it, saying warmly, "Sleep, sovereign of gods and all mankind, if ever you give heed to me before, comply again this time, and all my days I shall know well I am beholden. Lull to sleep for me the shining eyes of Zeus, as soon as I lie down with him in love. Then I shall make a gift to you, a noble golden, eternal share. My bandy-legged son Hephaestus by his craft will make it and fit it with a low footrest where you may place your feet while making wine." Don't you require your feet to make wine? Is this just like a chair for him? She's offering like a very fancy chair for him to sit while he makes wine. Which I assume, you know, odd, but okay, like gods have their things, I suppose. But mild, sweet Sleep replied, "Most venerable goddess, daughter of Cronos, great of old among the gods who never die, I might easily lull another to sleep. Yes, even the ebb and flow of old Okeanos, the primal source of all that lives. But Zeus, the son of Cronos? No, not I. I could not venture near him, much less lull him, unless by his command. One other time you taught me something, giving me a mission when Heracles, the prodigious son of Zeus, had plundered Iliad and come away. That day, indeed, I cast my spell on the father's heart. I drifted them about him, while you prepared rough sailing for the hero. In the open sea you stirred a gale that drove Heracles on Kos Island, far from friends. Then Zeus woke up and fell into a fury and hurled the gods about his hall, in quest of me above all. Out of heaven's air into deep sea, to be invisible forever, he would have plunged me, had not night preserved me, all subduing night, mistress of gods and men. I fled to her, and he for all his grace drew back, for fear of doing a displeasure to swift night. A second time you ask me to perform something I may not." Basically, he's saying, last time I did, I almost fucking died. I almost died. I had to run tonight. And only then did he chill out. I don't blame him. I don't blame Sleep. I, too, would be pretty spooked if the last time I did what this woman asked, I almost got destroyed for it. But to this she answered, "Why must you dwell on that unhappy day? Can you believe that Zeus, who views the wide world, will be as furious in defense of Trojans as for his own son Heracles? No, come, I should add, my gift to you will be one of the younger graces of a mistress, ever to be called yours." In eager pleasure, Sleep said, "Swear by Styx, corroding water. Place one hand on earth, grassland of herbs, and dip your other hand in dazzling sea. All gods with Cronos in the abyss attest that I shall marry one of the younger graces, Pasithea, the one I have desired all my living days." Ooh, that got him. That one promise got him like hella eager, huh? Without demur, Hera, whose arms shone white as ivory, took oath as he demanded. Each by name she called on all the powers of the abyss, on all the Titans. Then when she had sworn to these two, departed in the air from Lemnos, putting on veils of cloud drac, lightly running toward Ida, mother of beasts and bright with springs. feel like that's a pretty big deal. It's a pretty big promise to. I guess she is asking for a lot, just with the end goal of getting freaking Zeus to fall asleep. At Lecton, promontory from the sea, they veered inland and upland. At their passage, treetops were in commotion underfoot, but Sleep soon halted and remained behind before he came in range of Zeus's eyes. He mounted a tall pine, the tallest one on Ida, grown through mist to pierce the sky. Amid the evergreen boughs, he hid and clung, and seemed that mountain thrush of the clear tone called Kalkis by the gods, by men Kimindis. Why do the gods and men call it different things? I got not a clue. Hera swept on to Gargaron, Ida's crest, and there Zeus, Lord of Cloud, saw her arrive. He gazed at her, and as he gazed, desire veiled his mind like mist, as in those days when they had first slipped from their parents' eyes to bed, to mingle by the hour in love. He stood before her now and said, "What brings you down from Olympus to this place? The chariot you ride is not in sight." The lady Hera answered him in guile, "I go my way to the bourne of earth, to see Oceanus, from whom the gods arose, and Mother Thetis. In their distant hall they nourished me and cared for me in childhood. Now I must see them and compose their strife. They live apart from one another's bed. Estranged so long since anger came between them. As for my team, it stands at Ida's base, ready to take me over earth and sea. And on your account I came to see you first, so that you will not rage at me for going in secret where Oceanus runs deep." The Lord of Cloud replied, "But you may go there later, Hera. Come, lie down. We two must give ourselves to love-making. Desire for girls or goddesses in so wild a flood never came over me." The man is very expressive now. "Not for Ixion's bride, who bore that peerless man, Pirithous, or Danae, with her delicious legs, illustrious Perseus' mother, or Europa, daughter of Phoenix, world-renowned, who bore me Minos and magnificent Rhadamanthus, Semele or Alcmene, Theban ladies. One bore the rugged hero Heracles, and the other Dionysus, joy of men, or Demeter, the queen in her blonde braids, or splendid Alito, or yourself. No lust as sweet as this for you has ever taken me." He's just like, God damn. He's just like, "You are very hot today." That's just out of nowhere. Man, that freaking little thing that Aphrodite gave Hera really is working, isn't it? To this, the lady Hera in her guile replied, "Most formidable son of Kronos, how impetuous! Would you lie down here on Ida's crest for all the world to see? Suppose one of the gods who never die perceives us here asleep and took the story to all the rest. I would not bear to walk directly from his love bed to your hall. It would be so embarrassing. But if you must, if this is what you wish, and near your heart, there is my own bedchamber. Your dear son Hephaestus built it, and he fitted well the solid door and door jamb. We should go to lie down there, since bed is now your pleasure." But the Lord Marshal of Stormcloud said, "No fear, this act will be observed by god or man. I shall enshroud us in such golden cloud. Not even Helios could glimpse us through it, and his hot ray is finest at discerning." At this he took his wife in his embrace, and under them earth flowed delicate grass and clover wet with dew. Then crocuses and solid beds and tender hyacinth came crowding upward from the ground. On these the two lay down and drew round them purest vapor of golden cloud. The droplets flew away in sunlight sparkling. Soon the father, submerged by love and sleep, lay still as a stone on Gargaron height he lay, and slumbering with his lady in his arms. The god of sleep went gliding to the beachhead, bearing word to the god who shakes the earth. He halted at his side and swiftly said, warm to your work now. Comfort the Danaans, even award them glory in the fight. For a while at any rate, while Zeus is sleeping. Now that I've wrapped him in a night of sleep, Hera beguiled him into making love. And he was gone into far lands of fame when he had stirred Poseidon to fight harder, the god who now gained the line in a single bound and called out, "Argives, shall we yield to Hector once again, and let him take the ships, and let him win glory? He would have it so, because Achilles lingers by the ships, anger in his heart. Well, the great man need not be missed so badly if the rest of us rally each other to defend ourselves. Come, every man, and act on what I say. The army's best and biggest body shields are those that we should wear, our heads encased in helms that flash on every side, our hands upon the longest spears, and then attack. I will myself go first, my life upon it. Hector, for all his valor, cannot hold us. Any fresh man who bears against his shoulder a light shield, give it to now a tired fighter, and slip his own arm in a heavier one." The attentive soldier acted on his words, while Diomedes, Odysseus, and Agamemnon, wounded as they were, kept all in order. Down the ranks they made exchange of gear, good gear to good men, poor to inferior, and when hard bronze was fitted to their bodies, all moved out. Poseidon took the lead, in his right fist a blade fine-edged as lightning, that mortals may not parry in grievous war, for blinding fear makes man stand back from it. Hector drew up the Trojan lines opposing, and now the blue-maned god of sea and Hector brought to a dreadful pitch the clash of war, one giving heart to Trojans, one to the Argives. Oh, my brain. Waves of the sea ran berserk toward the Argive huts and ships as the two armies closed with a great cry. No surge from the open sea, whipped by a northern, buffet down on land with such a roar, nor does a forest fire in a mountain valley blazing up through woods, nor storm wind in the towering pose of oaks when its heights its rages, makes a roar as great as this, when Trojans and Achaeans hurled themselves at one another. Hector drove at Aias first with his great spear. As Aias had swung around at him, he hit him at the point where two belts crossed on his chest, one from his shield, one from his studded sword, and both together saved his skin. Enraged because the missile left his hand in vain, Hector fell back in ranks away from danger, but as he drew away, Telamonian Aias picked up one of the wedging stones of ships rolled out there, many at the fighter's feet, and smote him in the chest, above his shield rim, near his throat. The impact spun him around, reeling like a spent top. As an oaken tree under the stoke of Father Zeus goes down, root and branch and deadly fumes of brimstone raise from it, and no man's courage keeps him facing it if he sees it, Zeus's bolt being rough indeed. So all Hector's elan now dropped in dust. He flung his spear, his shield and helm sank down with him, his blazoned armor clanged around him. Damn, so he got him pretty good with that rock, huh? Yelling Achaean soldiers ran toward him, hoping to drag him off, and they made play with clumps of spears, but none could wound or hit the marshal of the Trojans, being forestalled by the Trojan peers. Aeneas, Polydamas, and Agenor, Sarpedon, chief of Lycians, and Glaucus. None of the rest neglected him, but over him all held up their round shields. Fellow soldiers lifted him in their arms to bear him off out of the grind of battle to his horses. These were waiting in the battle's rear, with painted chariot and driver. Now toward Troy they carried Hector, hoarsely groaning. Reaching the ford of Xanthos, the clear stream of eddying water the immortal Zeus had fathered, from the car they laid him down on the riverbank and splashed cool water on him. Taking a deep breath,
Opening his eyes wide, he got to his knees and spat dark blood, then backward sank again as black night hooded him, stunned still by the hurled stone. But the Argives, seeing Hector leave the field, were swift to step up their attack upon the Trojans, taking new joy in battle. Out in front, the runner Aias, son of Oileus, 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 lunged and wounded Santinos Onepites, whom by the banks of Santionis River, a flawless naiad bore the herdsman, Enops. This Satnios of the famous son of Oileus, coming in fast, speared in the flank. He tumbled, and then around him Trojans and Danaans clashed in bitter combat. Polydamas took the lead, shaking his spear to guard him, and struck Euryalykos' son, Prothoenor, square on the right shoulder. His big spear passing through, into the dust he fell and clutched at earth with his spear hand. Then Polydamas gloried, shouting high, "By God, this time the spear shaft from the hand of Panthous' son leapt out to some effect. One of the Argives caught it in his flesh. I can see him now, using it for a crutch, as he stumps to the house of death." His boasting brought anguish to Argives, most of all to Aias, veteran son of the Telamon. Beside him the dying man fell. Now, with his shining spear, he thrust at the withdrawing enemy. But he, Polydamas, with a sidewise sleep, avoided the dark fate. Another got it, Archelaus, for the gods had planned his ruin. Just at the juncture of his neck and skull, the blow fell on his topmost vertebra and cut both tendons through. Head, mouth, and nostrils with the earth before his shins and knees. Now Aias, in his turn to Polydamas, shouted, "Think now, Polydamas. Tell me truly if this man was not worthy to be killed for Prothoenor, as he seemed to me no coward, nor of coward's kind, but brother to Lord Antenor, master of horses, or else his son, for he was very nearly like him." He said this knowing the answer well, and pain seized Trojan hearts. Standing above his brother, Acamas brought down Promachus, a Boeotian, a Boeotian, as he was tugging at the dead man's feet. Then, gloating over him with a wild cry, Acamas said, "You Argive arrow boys, greedy for the sound of your own voices, hardship and grief will not be ours alone. You'll be cut down as he has. Only think, the way your Promachus has gone to sleep after my spear downed him, and no delay in the penalty for my brother's death. See why a soldier prays that a kinsman left at home will fight for him?" And this taunt hurt the Argives. Most of all, it angered Peneleus, and he attacked Acamas, who retired before his charge. Peneleus instead brought down Ilioneus, a son of Phorbas, the sheep herder. Random, just Phorbas, the sheep herder. Yeah, the guy that herds the sheep, That's that guy's son. As if there aren't many more sheep herders. Maybe Phorbas just has a lot of sheep, and, maybe that's why he's known as the sheep herder. Whom of all Trojans Hermes favored most and honored with possessions, although Ilioneus' mother bore the man that son alone. Oh, so that was his only son. Damn. Peneleus drove his spearhead into the eye socket underneath the brow, thrusting the eyeball out. The spearhead ran straight through the socket and the skull behind the throwing out both hands, he sat down backward. Peneleus, drawing his long sword, shot through the nape and set the severed helmeted head and shrunk apart upon the field. The spear remained in the eye socket, lifting up the head by it as one would lift a poppy. He cried out to the Trojans, gloating grimly, "Go tell Ilioneus' father and his mother for me, Trojans, to mourn him in their hall. The wife of Promachus, Alegenor's son, will not be gladdened by her husband's step." in that day when we Achaeans make home port on the ships for Troy. And the knees of all the Trojans were shaken by a trembling as each one looked for a way to escape breathtaking death. Muses in your bright Olympian halls, tell me what Achaeans most excelled in winning blood-stained spoils of war when the Earthshaker bent the battle line. Aias Telamonius cut down the Mysian leader, Hirtius, Curtiades. Okay, here we go with the names again. Antilochus killed Murmeros and Phalces, Merines, Morris, and Hypotion. Teucros, Proton, and Periphetes. After that, Menelaus hit Hyperionor's flank, and the spear had split his guts like water. By the wound slit as by a doorway, life left him in haste, and darkness closed his eyes. But Aias the swift runner, son of Oileus, killed more than any. None could chase as he could. A soldier panicked in that God-sent rout. Oh my goodness. Alright. 3 chapters done. Honestly, we got these. That last one, 14, book 14, felt kind of short. It did feel kind of short in comparison to some of the others. But we'll stop, I think, right here, because we tend to stick to the 3 books a stream every time we go back to reading the Iliad. Ay. So the thing that I thought was gonna happen still hasn't happened. I don't know when it's gonna happen. You know, the whole Patroclus taking Achilles' armor and going into battle thing. It appears that we're actually turning the tide here. The Argives are fighting back, and you know, they got poor Hector to be brought to the rear lines. That's pretty good for them. Zeus is now asleep. that allows Poseidon to do what he wants for the time being, and that sleep literally just got the god called sleep, I guess. In this story, at least, or at least in this translation of it. He's just called sleep. He's gonna get a share for this. A really fancy share and a wife, so there's that. I like how that's what that was promised to him. First, Hera offers a share. And then she's like, I can give you a wife too. You should have probably just led with the wife part. It's like, I'll give you a very fancy share. Okay, that's not enough. Okay, what about a wife? Like the leap in offerings to get Zeus to fall asleep is so, like, I don't know, it's just goofy. So like, first offer a man a share, and if that doesn't work, offer him a wife. The 2 things a man could want: a share and a wife. You know what? It all worked out in the end. Or maybe it won't, considering this next chapter is called The Lord of the Storm. Which, you know, depending on how much he cares for his own plans, may, I don't know. I don't know. Anyhow, yeah, that'll be all for today. I'll end things a little bit early today because I also have to cook. So, food is calling to me, and I'm hungry. So I shall bid thee farewell. I hope you all have a great rest of your mornings, afternoons, evenings, and nights, wherever and whenever you are. May the gods bless you. May the stars shine in your honor. Tomorrow we play Morrowind, so I'll see ya whenever I see ya. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.